and we have a broken mental health system.
Yeah.
And we had the threat from a madman in the White House who is trying to tear down decades of progress on civil rights.
Yeah.
And I see you wearing the DEI hat.
Yeah,
trying to humanize diversity, which should be a value beyond debate. We should all welcome diversity. And
welcome back to JFK Values. I should not have to do this, but we're going to critique people's values and how they get in the way of distributing actual value to people who need it, deserve it, are owed it both near and far. I'm your host, James Felton Keith, and this is being brought to you by the Keith Institute. This is yet another critique on inclusionism, where we like to say individuals are at their best when they identify with a community, and of course, communities are only at their best when they identify all of their individuals. So let's get right to it.
Welcome back, everybody. We're coming to you live from Harlem for another special episode of Inclusionism. I have the Manhattan Borough President here with me today, who is currently running for the New York City Comptroller's office. And I just want to say something before we get into this really quick about Mark Levine. I've known Mark Levine for years, I would say maybe even a decade at this point, since he was the city council member in West Harlem and then Manhattan Borough President. And I'm firmly endorsing him for the Comptroller's office. But I want to tell one quick story about where we are in this week. Juneteenth is coming up on Thursday, and we have this big march with thousands of people in Central Park now. We're going on our 6th year at the Juneteenth March, or juneteenthmarch.org, which supports a broader Harlem-based LGBT SGL center that we call the Harlem Center. Everyone can check that out at harlemcenter.org. But Mark and his team as as Manhattan Borough President specifically, have been instrumental in us scaling this particular event and getting into the park, the most famous park in America. I like to call it America's Park. And so I just want to give that context for the kind of work that Mark has been doing, again, in all of the offices that he's held over the years. And it's one reason that we're endorsing him, not just me, but a lot of the people that we work with, folks from the Basic Income March to the Juneteenth March. I do a lot of marching for anyone that's not familiar with me. But, the main reason that we're doing this is I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with the New York City Comptroller's office, but you want someone in that office who understands the mechanics of government and understands how to get things done for constituents, for groups of people that need resources throughout the city. And so that's why he's our pick. But as we get into that, I want to just touch on two big questions I've been asking all the mayoral candidates and a bunch of other candidates specific to the things that I hear around the city the most. As I move around from Queens to Staten Island, and I was just in St. Albans trying to convince my mother-in-law why she should vote for Mark and a few other people. She's an 80-year-old Trinidadian woman who is, slightly conservative. She's a homeowner who still has a mortgage with my father-in-law. And so we regularly talk about politics around the table. And we talk about, two things primarily: money and how their grandkids, which they clearly love more than all of us at their kid run, how they can be, included in the future of the city. And so with that said, I'm kind of shifting all these episodes to go convince my mother-in-law to vote for you.
Well, I'm going to have to meet her.
Yeah, we got to get you up there. I know there's a mouthful, Mark, but first, thanks for joining us. Where are you this morning?
Well, JFK, first, let me say how much I appreciate you and our friendship and how you've led on economic justice, on inclusion in all its forms, and what you've done with this Juneteenth March, which is the most welcoming and inclusive event. And it is right that it's in Central Park. It deserves to be there. And just grateful for you and your support. I can't wait to meet the mother-in-law.
Yeah, we got to get you to St. Albans. I might send an email out. Yeah. They've got a big enclave up there. But anyway, go ahead.
Coming to you from our campaign office in Brooklyn. We are in the home stretch as we're recording now. We are 7 days out from this really important election, probably the most important in recent memory, where so much is on the line for New York. We have the worst affordability crisis we have faced ever, with rents that are out of control. And we have a broken mental health system. And we had the threat from a madman in the White House who is trying to tear down decades of progress on civil rights. And I see you wearing the DEI hat. You're trying to humanize diversity, which should be a value beyond debate. We should all welcome diversity and equity and inclusion. But with this guy attacking us and attacking these values, this election is more important than ever. This job of Comptroller, which frankly some people haven't even heard of. It's okay. It's a little bit obscure, but it's actually even more important with threats from Washington, and it actually can do a lot on the equity front. This is something that I've been involved in my whole career. I was a teacher in the Bronx out of college. I taught bilingual math and science in the South Bronx at a junior high school. And many of the kids, my wonderful students and their families, had no connection to the financial system, no bank accounts, no credit cards. They were relying on check cashing stores and loan sharks. So I did something about it. I founded a community credit union in Uptown Manhattan. It's called Neighborhood Trust. It's still going strong on 166 in St. Nick, serving West Harlem and Washington Heights. It's made $100 million of loans in the neighborhood, helping people pay for a computer, pay for education, start a business, even become owners of their own homes. And so for me, equity, economic justice has been part of who I am. And it's going to be a big part of what I'm doing in this campaign. And if I'm lucky enough to win as Comptroller, we are going to roll out a plan to get young people across the city bank accounts. We think every young person enrolled in SYEP should automatically get a no fee, no minimum bank account so that they can have their paycheck deposited there. Much better than dealing with paper checks. It could get them started on banking, which is a value that we want every young person to have in life. And we want to pair it with financial literacy curriculum in the schools. I think that this should be a core of every young person's education, to understand what is the stock market? What are bonds? We want young people to understand that so they don't miss out on those benefits. So this is an important job, and I'm really pushing financial justice, economic justice as part of my platform.
I love that. Well, and again, I think a lot of people don't realize, I was in London once at an insurance conference, and these kids thought I was, I think, an artist or something, and they hit me up. I was like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm here for an insurance conference. I'm like, get out of here. I was like, yeah, I work in insurance. Like, I've been in insurance for 20 years. I just think, sometimes when you have baseball caps on, people don't know what you do. But I particularly like that approach to get everyone in the normal economy, get them banked. And again, for people who are not familiar with the Comptroller's office, we have a state comptroller, we have a city comptroller. And Mark, this may be too short, but I would say it's like the CFO or chief financial officer.
That is what it is, the chief financial officer. Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's valuable that it's differentiated from the mayor so that there's some autonomy and agency, literal and operational, about, pushback or push up around certain issues. So just one last question for you, because of the madman, even as you talk about, mental health and mental illness, and the mental illness we might be experiencing out of DC per our motley crew of, society that we live here in New York. Everyone's here. When we think about how we can use our different offices to push back, legally, financially, operationally against what's coming out of DC, what are some of the tools that the Comptroller has at their disposal to exert New York City's authority? Again, both statewide, citywide, nationally. Everyone's tied to New York in some capacity because of the banking system. And so what do we have? What kind of brawn does the Comptroller have?
Real power. This office has real power. You laid it out right. First of all, it's the second most powerful job in city government, and it needs to be totally independent of the mayor so that the Comptroller can keep the mayor in check. support the mayor when they do the right thing, but really hold them accountable. And the comptroller has independent powers of audit, oversight, investigation, subpoena power on every city agency. That's really important now more than ever. But also the comptroller oversees the pension funds, which are massive, $280 billion. That's our money. That's the money that civil servants and retirees have earned, and it's invested on their behalf. We own stock in every company in America.
Yeah.
And that gives us real influence in corporate America. And I would like to see us link up with Blue City pension funds and Blue State pension funds.
Yeah.
You add up New York, Chicago, California, Maryland. We have collectively $3 trillion in assets.
Yeah.
Double what the red states have. And we need to go to CEOs and say, we're your shareholders. We elect your board. We're not going to allow you to abandon diversity, equity, and inclusion, even if you're getting pressure from the MAGA crowd. First, because it's morally right, but it's also good for business.
Yeah.
Diverse boards and diverse leadership and serve diverse customers are more successful businesses.
Yeah.
So it's in the interest of our pension fund to invest in those kinds of businesses.
Yeah.
So we have real power. We can flex that muscle. And then lastly, I'll say that we also have to make sure that the comptroller sets an example by ensuring that the fund managers that we hire to manage that $280 billion reflect the diversity of the city. Yeah. And right now they really don't, JFK. So we want to make sure that we elevate emerging fund managers, NWBEs, Black fund managers, again, because it's the right thing to do, but the data shows that diverse managers actually have as good or better track record.
Yeah.
And so again, it's a win-win. And I've been talking to many of the most prominent Black fund managers in New York about how we can actually make that happen in practice.
Yeah.
And I'm confident that we can move the needle on that. So I want to elevate diversity inside the comptroller's office and also be an advocate nationally using the considerable powers that we have.
Well, look, we're looking forward to it, Mark. And I just want to say for the folks thinking about the pension fund, both of my parents-in-law, the 85 and the 80-year-old dad and mom, they're both teachers. They both work in the education system. Right, they're still working, actually, which we're in a bit of a series of family debates about what they're doing now. But the point is, they're all tied into this system, again, as you explained. And really every company, if they're not directly tied to this city, they're 1 degree of separation away. So again, everyone, I'm endorsing Mark Levine. We're going to add some links to his site, how to donate, how to get involved in this last push. And so we'll add those links to the bio, to the description, etc. But Mark, thanks again. We're looking forward to that leadership. But
JFK, thank you, my friend, for your leadership, for your support, and for everything you do. Really means a lot. Let's make sure we win the vote of your mother-in-law and father-in-law.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, I'm really gonna sit in this. This is all for her. I'm like, because Dad'll do whatever she's gonna do. So anyway,
love it.
All right,
thank you.
we're gonna let you go. Have a good one.
All the best.
If you're enjoying this discussion and you want to do a deeper dive on some of the concepts that we're talking about here, I'd encourage you to get a couple of our books from the Inclusionism series and the Ethics of Personal Data Collection series. Here are 3 of my latest books. This first one is the Ethics of Personal Data Collection and International Relations. It's a bit of an academic book for IR academics and students. This is a follow-up to that book called Personal Data Collection in a Post-COVID World. And this is probably the easiest read. Data is labor, which really talks about the economics of how we distribute value via people's personal data, how we can legislate, how we can regulate that in, and what some of the broader economic and legal implications are.
Subscribe to Inclusionism articles and podcasts at the Keith Institute.